Hello, everybody. My name is Rudolf. I'm from Switzerland, and I would like to share some ideas on photovoltaic power systems with you. Let's see. We here see the Lake Mut power PV system that was constructed 2 years ago by Axpo, a Swiss power company, and IWB, the Basel utility that I am a member of a board and I was involved. This is on 2,600 meters altitude, and it is done because these deployments have a high power share during winter. Here you see another mountainous PV deployment, which is at Mont Soleil in the French part of Switzerland, 1,200 meters above sea level. This test field is working since 32 years, and it shows also the high durability of these deployments. They have a winter share from October to March. The power generation is 40% of the annual production. All over the world, PV systems are expanding on an exponential path. You can see that in the picture left, and it's accompanied by wind power. The same path exponentially goes up for batteries. You see the projection on the right side up to 2030. Wind, solar, and batteries are highly successful for cheap generation of power. On the right side in this picture, you see the prices that have come down for all these three assets. Today, wind and solar is less expensive than any fossil or nuclear fuel generation. And batteries play a very important role for short-time storage, but they are less successful in long-time storage. On the left side, you see that for seasonal equilibrium of power supply, wind and solar are combined in Europe. Solar has its peak in the summer and wind has its peak in wintertime, and they are highly complementary each other, accompanied by hydro and batteries. In Switzerland, we have a so-called winter power gap. It means that in closing down nuclear power and with a growth of power consumption for heat pumps and electric cars, there is not enough power during winter time. And as a president of another big power company told us, reservoirs are too small to cover the gap. So hydro will not fill the gap during winter time. On the right side in this picture, you see the power line generation profile of Alpine and lowland photovoltaics. Typically in the Alps, you find a peak of power generation during winter between February and April, May, and you have a second power peak in October and November. This is very atypical compared to the normal summer peak of PV production in the lowland. So why do we have such a high prolific production for PV in the mountains? There are three main reasons. First, you have a fewer clouds on 1,000 to 3,000 meters and much more sunshine during winter time. Then you have a better module efficiency with cold temperatures. And additionally, you have snow that reflects the light and gives you an albedo effect, which also gives you a higher production. Typically, winter power we call PV systems that produce more than 500 kilowatt hours during winter time. This is the main threshold in the law for additional public finance, and because these systems are regarded as essential for security of supply. Meanwhile, after the Ukraine war, there was a certain run on new deployments in the Alps. You can see this here. This is a visualization of a project that got the permission just last week. You find a lot of spacing between the modules and the soil, 2 to 3 meters. This is due to snowfall. The facility has, of course, to get light during winter with high snow, and in summertime this is maintained as a place where cows can eat their food. This is another visualization of Gondo Solar at the left. You see this deployment close to the Italian border, and on the right you can see the so-called solar trees. They fulfill the need that you need less space between the soil and the panel due to a vortex wind phenomenon that keeps these trees free from snow around the facility. This is another picture of Grangeold Solar, the biggest and highest expansion that is planned. These constructions have to be very robust. They have high wind load. They have sometimes 2 to 6 meters of snow during winter time. And then there is along slopes a heavy snow load. So the anchoring in the ground has to be very solid. And for this, you need a lot of transport materials for installations, and special purpose cable cars are planned to bring all the materials up. A consequence of these very solid constructions is their high costs. Alpine solar PV is 3 to 4 times more expensive than lowland expansions of solar farms. And this is due mainly to the cost of the anchoring of the panels. You see the blue area in this graph. On the other hand, you find an additional yield in high altitudes. It means that you get, during summer, maybe 1.5 times more solar power than in lowlands, and up to 4 times more during the winter half year. This is not reflected in additional revenue. The cost is higher for Alpine PV than the additional revenue that you get. Winter time has a lot of wind power all around Europe, so you can find even negative prices during winter, which makes investment decisions not easy. Then there are also floating structures on alpine lakes and storage facilities for hydro. This is a picture of Lac de Toul in the Valais canton. This comes at a very high cost, 5 to 6 times higher than solar expansions in lowlands. The modules here typically only make less than 15% of the overall costs. This has driven a lot of discussion, the high costs, brings people to find alternatives on existing structures like the walls around road facilities. Here another picture at a high altitude in the canton of Grisons. Using the wall, of course, you just nail the panels on the wall and you can have huge lower costs than before. Another thing to do is you oversize lowland facilities like pictured here, and then you of course can also get more wind power by oversizing, and you have then excess production in the summertime that you may not be able to use or to sell. Overall, today, solar Alpine PV is part of the overall picture for security of supply in Switzerland. It makes a certain parts together with wind power, with additional and existing hydro, and also with the seasonal storage of heat, for example. The lessons learned are we have trade-offs between rooftop solar and Alpine installations in terms of costs and productivity. Solar roofs are not that bad. Even in cloudy regions, they deliver much power during March and October. And this is the period where we have to, this is the heating season where you need this power for heat pumps. And also additional capacities in lowlands can spare hydro storage. And so you finally will use hydro storage only during the hard winter. And then connection costs, grid congestion problems are much lower in the lower lands close to loads. Alpine solar has huge potentials with more than 20,000 square kilometers as an option, but it is only affordable if the system operators recognize it as a peak power source for deep winter. And of course, we need innovations, cheaper mounting structures. And some of these innovations are ongoing. Here you see a table, a PV table, with prefabricated standard solutions for open field with very flexible legs. This installation has a capacity of 13.5 kilowatt, and I'm quite optimistic that more innovation could bring down costs and we can go along a learning curve as we did for batteries and normal solar. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you liked it.